Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Last Meg podcast. I am your host, Primal, and in today's episode, we have a very special guest, one of my closest friends, and one of the people I used to play Call of Duty Mobile with. Please give a warm welcome to Mr. Moistini. How are we doing today, my guy?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing good. It's been a great day of COD so far on this fantastic Saturday. So in today's episode, guys, we're going to be breaking down champs, Call of Duty League 2026 champs going into Sunday. Matches are still playing right now. We've got the Gelmates versus Riyadh Falcons, and Riyadh's up 1-0 in the series, and they're on map 2. So, excited to see how that series turns out. So, Moistini, what's been the biggest upset or biggest surprise about champs so far for you this for this weekend?
I mean, it's got to be Riyadh. I think Riyadh, the Falcons, they've been. I think they've been a shock to everybody, right? Like nobody really had them coming into this event and being as good as they look, especially selling them. But I think I don't know what you want to call them, like their Arabic team. I don't know what the term would be because I think Aluka's actually German, but those guys, Exnate and Aluka, have been performing extremely well, way better than I think anybody would have thought coming into this event, especially Aluka being his first event. So um, this so far, even in the match they're playing now against the Gentlemates, they've looked phenomenal. I think that's the biggest surprise.
I do agree with you about that. And the fact that Falcons in winners round 1, not even in losers, they've been upsetting teams and even literally taking maps from some of the top teams is insane. It's like, my gosh. So definitely interested in seeing the Falcons play with Luca, and I could see Luca gain a top team spot potentially this upcoming season or maybe even next.
Oh yeah, I definitely think he was probably supposed to be in the league when after the first Challengers tournament, and he performed so well. But then they just put him in as a sub, I think, on LAT. So he didn't get the love I guess he deserved for that. But I guess the other big story that people might want to know is the Thieves, dropping out. That would be the other one. I think that at this point in the tournament, though, Riyadh's a bigger, story than they are. I feel like they did that. It's kind of scraps, bad juju or something. So I feel like Riyadh's more of a big story than the Thieves are.
I do. I have to laugh when you say Scrap's bad juju, and I do agree. It's like Scrap is cursed. I honestly think he's cursed because the, the first time he appeared at Champs was MW2. So we've had MW2, MW3, Black Ops 6, and now Black Ops 7. So 4 full years, and he hasn't performed to the level he has. Like the highest he really got was grand finals at MW2, but that was just pure murder on the side of NYSL.
Yeah, I think that team, I mean, in that year, in that title in Modern Warfare 2 2022, that was just, they the subliners were just on another level, right? I mean, that was 99 Kismet, which we're currently seeing right now.
Yep.
It's a rare breed that you don't see very often. So, I can't really hold them too much for that. I know people will probably, I don't think it's that big of a deal. But they did get slammed. I think it was a 4-0 5-0. Best of nine.
Yeah, it was best of 9, so it was a 5-0.
5-0 was pretty bad. 5-0 was pretty bad. But I definitely think he's got it in him, right? Back-to-back MVPs. I mean, it maybe I've been seeing he put out like a statement where he said that his PC was like really messed up, and then they switched it out after he left that PC. But then there's a bunch of people saying that Kips and a couple other players on other teams fried on that exact same PC, and that he's just coping. So I don't know what the truth is, but it's hard to say that the MVP of the league drops a .6 champs and something's now a little off. Maybe it was just a bad day. Who knows?
I agree. The whole PC issue, that definitely has been a major problem for the last couple of years, I feel like. Especially with now that it feels like every year or every 2 years we have better PCs, better frame rates, and it on competitive scene you're stuck on an older PC while outside of competitive scene you got players literally playing on better graphics, better um, lag anti-lag devices, and gain over 400 frames or something per second, and it's honestly insane that we haven't seen equipment update for them. So I'm wondering if hopefully the league will be saying, okay, the players and coaches are pointing this out in interviews, and we even had Looney when come on to the main broadcast during champs and pointed out and said, "Hey, we were having PC issues." So it's like, something's got to change, whether it's monitors or PCs or something. And
Yeah. Oh, go ahead. Finish.
sorry. Uh, I'll get. But yeah, the .6 from scrap is absurd.
Yeah, on the whole PC thing, I've heard this conversation a lot, and anybody who's been, around the scene for a while has probably heard it. But I think personally, I would like to see it come back to a console. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Actual LAN environment console side. We know that PCs aren't technically LAN because I don't even think you could hook them up that way, right? So they're technically still online. They're just playing it in a different way, I guess. So I think an actual serious LAN environment. The COD games need to be made with a LAN, like port, whatever it was that was LAN back in the day. And that's how it should actually function, right? There shouldn't be any sort of online COD at all, in my opinion, when it comes to these events.
I do agree with you on the whole switch back to console and get back to more of a LAN environment where you're always on LAN. Like that definitely would. I feel like that definitely would bring more viewers and more audience interaction with the community on the competitive side. Um, I've heard from other YouTubers where there was supposed to be like a tournament in every major country or city like every weekend on the initial season of the CDL, and that would have been both cool and as well as unsustainable just for financial reasons. I feel like potentially.
Yeah, I heard that as well. I think that was a beginning, like Modern Warfare 2019 original CDL opinion. Like from when I watched the Flank with Zuma, they've spoken about that, and that was just too much. Like biting off more than they could chew. You know what I mean? Like when it comes to expanding a league like this, or creating a league like this, I think you gotta, start somewhere small and then grow it. Right? The idea would be to grow to that, not to start there. You know what I mean? Like the whole $25 million buy-ins for teams, that was just ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
And they thought the market was a lot bigger than it actually was in comparison to maybe other esports, right? Like Counter Strike or League of Legends or something like that, where it's more um, worldwide. They can probably get away with something more like that. Whereas Call of Duty's mainly always been in a North American esport where it's you know not necessarily as popular around the world. It's harder to get away with that.
Agree. It's like also the buy-ins from the $25 million buy-in definitely affected certain orgs and probably affected how the league would have gone as well too. So, yep. Um, so what has been your favorite? Well, so run into champ scan. Um, we now know the All Star team 1 and 2. What was your thoughts on that?
Um, I think I don't know who the exact teams are. I'm actually looking it up right now. I gotta assume Scrap, Dashy. I got it right here. Scrap, Dashy, Joe Deceives, and Hydra as your first team. So I think that's solid. Actually, I don't have any problems with that as a first team. I think Jody's been incredible. Toronto Ultra just completely blowing that with Jody is just ridiculous. But we got Hydra. I feel like what things makes sense. Thieves literally won like 3 straight events, so I totally get that. And he performed well on that team, so it's not necessarily Model for 2022 Hydra where he's just unkillable, but he's been great. As for second team, Shotzi, Simp, Mercules, and Abuza. I'm shocked Abuza's in there, but maybe. I mean, I guess that makes sense. He is on FaZe Vegas, and they're about to play for the World Championship. So I guess I can get behind it. He didn't look too good today, but all year long, I guess in that respect, he probably deserves to be on there. I don't really know what other KD wise, they got the KDs here. I'm looking at breakingpoint.gg on Instagram for their KDs, at least what they posted. So I think Abuza is the only one that I'm looking at that might be a little controversial. Maybe Simp not being first team is controversial. Simp's been godlike, man. I think that guy's the best player in the world, at least for the last, pretty much since he came in BO4. I think Simp's been, if you had to pick one guy to be the best player in the world for the last, 8 years?
Mm-hmm.
It's him. It's him by far. Maybe a BZ. You could throw a BZ in that ring and maybe sell him. I think really those three are the only three options for best player all around. Maybe Shotzi, I guess. Or Dashy, if you're, I'm not trying not to be biased. I'm an Optic fan, so I think Sim by far though he probably deserves to be first team.
Right, exactly. Like I was shocked that he wasn't on main team but second. I'm still glad to see that he got on the All Stars team, and he's definitely been performing on that top caliber level that we expect of him, and just how he's going about the maps recently has definitely been showing me vibes of Black Ops 4 and Black Ops 6 vibes as well. So, yep. Now let's crack on into the matches. What has been your favorite match so far to watch?
I mean, it's got to be winners finals. I think FaZe versus Optic. It's it's probably the best series this year. I think that first hard point on Scar was just, it was great. I mean, that was great COD to watch. Peak stuff. If you're, I'm a little old, so maybe peak's not the right. I don't know, but I thought it was great. But that 04, like turn on there in the back doorway was just, that's something you can't teach that right there. That's great stuff. So I think that first map was excellent. And I think they just, they probably should have won. What was it, map 2?
Mm-hmm.
And Optic probably should have won map 1. I think it was a fair series. I don't think there's any sort of downing in that. I think that's by far my favorite of the tournament.
That definitely is in my top 3 matches so far. With that first map of the hard point of how it came so, it was literally five. I think it was a 5 point map win for FaZe on Scar for hardpoint. And I was like, I was downstairs watching on my phone while making dinner, and I all of a sudden I hear 5 seconds left before map's over. I'm like, wait, what do you mean? And I see timers run. I'm like, oh my gosh, boys, get into the hill, get into the hill. And the fact that FaZe won made me so happy. And I have to say, 04 took over on that Den hardpoint for map 4. Like, that was godlike. Like, he was unkillable so much throughout that map.
Yeah, totally agree with you on that. And a question I got for you,
Mm-hmm.
we've seen, at least in that series, right? Shotzi dropping a 0.7 and Hook dropping a .8, Dash dropping a .9, and Mercury's dropping a 1.1. What do you think it's going to take from FaZe to win this thing?
Honestly, for FaZe to win champs tomorrow, Simp is going to have to be his godlike self. Like, he's going to have to really match O4's number play style on, like how they did on map 4, O4 literally pop and take over. Um, I need to see Draws probably come out with a hard carry maybe in the search. Like, yeah, he was able to get the crew hailstorm for map 5 and they shut Mercules off his 4 streak and that was great to see. I feel like Draza was definitely suffering a little bit throughout that series, especially in the search and destroys. Now, I've got a question for you. You being an Optic fan, so right now we have the for a series, Falcons are about to go into map 3. They're up 2-0 over Jailmates. Assuming Falcons finish Jailmates off with a 3-0, who do you got between the Falcons and Optic?
I mean, I'm biased, man, so I'm rolling with Optic. But I think for Optic, it would be better if Jailmates reverse sweeps this, right? They win the next 3 maps. Map 3 is about to start here in a few minutes because I'm watching it. So I think that would be preferred. They've played Jailmates a lot. They got a lot more experience and reps against them, and they've beaten them more. And I think, they would probably be more serious going into that game. Not that they wouldn't be serious going into Riyadh, but I think with Riyadh, nobody expected Riyadh to make it this far, right? They kind of thought Riyadh would, double first rounded.
Yep.
Here, I think, if they are playing Riyadh, I think it's they just gotta want it. You know what I mean? They gotta come in with that same intensity that they had, in these first few matchups, and bring it home. Right? I think that's what it's gonna take. You're playing a late match, right? They're playing, they gotta wait around to see, the actual result of this matchup. So I think the main thing is seeing Shotzzy pick it up, right? He had a .7 in winners finals. I think you got to see Shotzzy be Shotzzy, right? You need to see him doing what he is capable of doing. I think Hook and Dashy around a .9 is kind of they could do a little bit better than that and they'll improve a little bit and that'll help as well. And then Mercules with the 1.17 in the winners finals. I think if he just stays where he's at, I think they'll be fine. Especially depending on vetoes, that could be something interesting when you're going into playing a team like Riyadh that, they just made a team change in like the honeymoon phase. I think the vetoes can be a question mark. So hopefully they just play their best stuff and pull it out.
Agree. So you would have that would be FaZe v Optic for grand finals tomorrow. And now to follow up on the question you asked me of what it would take for FaZe to win tomorrow, what do you think it will take for Optic to win tomorrow?
It's pretty much going to take the same thing for them to beat either whoever they're playing in losers finals, right? So I think you got to see Shotzzy be great. The map pool is probably going to be pretty deep for both teams, right? So I don't think that's really going to be something that is taken into too much of effect. I don't think that the winners bracket team doesn't get a map advantage, right? They still have to win 5 maps.
Yeah.
So if that's not the case, then it's just going to be endurance. You're going to be on stage for potentially 9 straight maps. It's going to be something that they're very familiar with, and maybe some of those FaZe guys aren't as familiar with. Although I think, Abuza, he's played in a lot of grand finals, and then a couple of those guys, obviously, Sim's been around for a while. Draws is the world champion. And who's their fourth?
04.
04, he was with Abuza, on that Seattle team, and they went to the grand finals. So I think, that's something where the experience comes in, having coaches like Barlow, DB5 or 6 or whatever he's at now. He's got so many, I can't keep track. And then JP Perez, they can iron out those kinks in the extra day, they have to prepare for FaZe.
Right. So I've got another question for you. So, grand finals back in the CW era used to be two best of fives, so that would be like that could be up to 10 maps, and the winner only had to win like three maps because they only had to do one full set, but while the losers had to do two sets. Do you think the CDL needs to go back to doing the two sets because of how majors have gone with the losers of with the team that comes from losers ends up winning it all? Like, do you think we need to go back to two best of fives again?
You know, yes, I think that's better than the best of nine. But if that's your only series on Sunday of champs, I feel like that's kind of short. It could just be a hot 3-0 by the winners finals team, and then that's it. So I get the best of nine is probably something that they want for viewership and maybe sponsors and stuff like that. So if there's a middle ground, that's better. I know from my watching of the flank, every single flank that I've watched, because I watched them all. Aches talks about, I think it's a best of seven cancellation series, what they used to do back in the day, like way back in the day, like maybe BO2, Cog Ghost or
Mm-hmm.
something. That's what he thinks is the best, and I remember the description of how that works, but it's probably a better alternative to both of them. So if that ever came in, I think that would be the preferred way to go. Or two best of sevens, maybe even. I think that would be fine instead of two best of fives. Really more of a test of your map pool overall, and it gives everybody what they want, right? More COD. So I think that would be preferred. But if I had to pick between a best of nine and two best of fives, I would go two best of fives.
Okay. Um. So we're about to enter into the off season. Um, do you see what teams do you see definitely making changes, and what teams do you think will be sticking together?
I think the winner of champs is going to stick together. I think every other team is probably going to make a change. Um, if Optic wins, they're sticking together, and everybody else is changing, right? I think Optic is a dynasty if they win this,
Mm-hmm.
right? That same team will have won. The same exact team will have won back-to-back champs, right? So they're not switching it. Everybody else will switch most likely. If they're not switching, then that's a problem. Those orgs suck, and the people running those orgs also suck. Um, I think if whoever wins champs, if it's right now Riyadh, General Mates, or FaZe, I definitely think you see them stick, and then you might see Optic. They might make a change if they can get somebody better. For I don't even know who you would get rid of. But if they could get somebody better, they might make a change. Um, Otherwise, I think that it's pretty cut and dry. Winner of champ stays, and everybody else switches in some regard. Um, but that's pretty much what I got for that.
Okie dokie. Now on the topic of the Falcons, we know that Celium has gained a almost $1 million basically in salary, and that is honestly an absurd and insane amount of money. Like he's making the top number for salary of the league. Um, do you think Falcons will continue to do this, or do you think they will eventually run out of money?
So like Falcon salary cap.
Yeah, like, do you think they're going to not be able to constantly afford to give their players like half a million or more for certain players, or even for when it comes to roster mania, like buyouts and stuff? Like, if we have absurd buyouts.
I mean, if they got the money for it and they're willing to spend, I don't think we see a change there. I think they just keep spending money on players that they can get, the best they can get, right? Every year, somebody else that's really good's contract's going to run, right? Could be for LAT, like some of those guys got to be on their second year, right, of their 1+1 or whatever deals they're signing. So,
Mm-hmm.
somebody like Scrap and Hydra, I think, are two. They could be gone. You know what I mean? Scrap and Hydra are going somewhere else. You know, I think Hydra to General Mates is the very popular consensus from what I've seen.
Yep.
So, you know, who's getting Scrap, right? Scrap, Zalium, Pred, and Exnid could be, you know, what we see next year for Riyadh. I don't see, unless there's a change in ownership, you know, they probably don't switch up their strategy in terms of, you know, trying to buy a rank, essentially. And I think, you know, that's good for the sport, honestly, probably, because you know, seeing a team like that come in and try to be competitive is way better than seeing a team like Cloud9, I think, this year just come in and totally suck, or even Falcons last year where they came in and tried the Saudi thing, you know, and just come in and just be terrible, right? So we don't want that.
Agree. And speaking of Cloud9, we know that Boston Breach is going to be has new ownership of Omit, which is a Challengers team, and Rafi's going to be upper management for them. Now Cloud9 didn't really basically gave minimum wage, like I think it was like $40,000 per player for them to play for Cloud9 this year, and it definitely was a major turnoff of all the players because no one wants to play for an org who's going to purely penny pinch and not really give what the players deserve and stuff. Do you think the league or an org will say, "Hey, I know you didn't really pay your players well. We will do a better job, so give us your spot and we'll take over from here"? Like, do you think that will happen this season or next?
It could, you know, it could. I don't think, you know, from what I've heard, like through the rumor mill, I guess you could say, you know, Zuma tried to get a spot with, or he actually got offered a spot, and somebody else was going to like sponsor it, pay for everything. But you know, a lot of people who come into this, you know, they're more on the business side. They're not as familiar with COD. They just see this as like a money opportunity, and you know, everybody wants to get in, you know, spend no money and make a lot. Right? That's business.
Right.
And so I think it's difficult to kind of say we'll see anybody come in that hasn't already came in and be a good team. You know what I mean? Like, unless there's a group that comes in that's already been in prior, like in the CWL era, maybe like, I don't know, is like Complexity or Fnatic or, you know, teams like that, you know, that you've heard of back in the day that aren't currently a part of it, maybe. You know, you could see one of those teams come in and be an actual team that like wants to win.
Right.
I do have a question for you in regards to the next Call of Duty. Right, we've hit that COD cycle where it's there's leaks about the next COD coming out, Modern Warfare 4. You have any sort of hopes for that game? You know, I know you don't play COD Mobile as much as you used to, but maybe, you know, some of the things that we see in that game transferring back to COD Mobile. As we know, COD Mobile is just an amalgamation of everything in Call of Duty. And, you know, from NB to BR to DMZ. What do you think of, you know, COD 4? I don't even know if we're going to call it COD 4. COD MW4 is what it's probably going to be called. But what are your hopes for that?
Honestly, I would love to see what. So when we had MW3, we got classic nostalgic maps. Like we got High Rise into the competitive map pool for the league. Honestly, I would love to see more nostalgic maps be trying to see if they could be tested for the competitive scene for console. I was watching this one YouTuber. I think he has early access to it. Hang on a second. Oh, Swifter, that's the name. He does a series where he does Swifter says and stuff like that, like fun challenges and stuff like that. Nothing serious. Um, and I was seeing certain guns. I think he was rocking like a SMG. I didn't read what the name of it was. But it looked like the GKS from COD Mobile. So and I'm just like, okay. The question is, what is the? It's like um, I would love to see what's. Yeah. I would like to see a SMG similar to GKS be used in the competitive scene for next year. Um, Additionally, I would also be interested in seeing the teams actually design both a camera like you could earn from opening crates in COD Mobile for free when you do your daily login and rewards and stuff. Like I would like to see something like, okay, this team won X major and they get to design something in game that you could rock around with. I'd also love to see some MW19 maps come back into the fold for the competitive season. I believe one of the maps. Let me quickly pull up the map pool for MW19.
Hackney Yard, a Gun Runner, or Zero Cave, Piccadilly,
Yep.
Ramaza.
So I would love to see Hackney Yard. Was Ramaza Yard the one that was the cave map, or am I thinking?
No, the Zero Cave was the cave map.
Yep. I would love to see that map pulled in to there. I also think I didn't really watch much of MW19 since my priorities were since I hadn't really fully dived into the competitive season at that point. Like I was watching somewhat if my friends had it in their rooms at the time, but um, honestly, seeing Hackney Yard come back would definitely be worth it. Now we did have the opportunity for Arsenal and Frequency to come back into this year's COD potentially for competitive wise. Do you think um, the developers might be saving that for MW4 maybe? Like I'm not fully sure, but if somehow some way those maps were to be transitioned into MW4 for a competitive season, that might be interesting and a little weird. What's your thoughts? Do you think they would pull maps like those potentially, or try and stick to Modern Warfare maps?
I think they legally can't do that. They can only bring back like the Modern Warfare series maps. That would be like a not a what do you call it? Like a conflict of interest or something like that.
Okay.
They can't like I think they legally cannot bring back a Treyarch map. So in the Modern Warfare series, we'll never see um, Arsenal, Frequency, Seaside, those BO4 maps. I love Seaside. It's my favorite map of all time. But we'll never see any Treyarch maps, I think, brought back to that side. So I do think there's a chance that we see, previous maps that were competitive on the Modern Warfare side, though. So for Modern Warfare 4, it wouldn't shock me if we saw Modern Warfare 2019 maps, if that's the same studio making it. So there's no shot that we see Treyarch maps due to probably like some sort of copyright or something.
Gotcha. Um, so quick little update for everybody who's still listening in. The Riyadh Falcons versus Paris Gentlemen has now officially gone to map 4. Gelmates ended up taking the overload on Scar in a, I think it was a 2-1 or 3-1 fashion. Survey says,
It was 2-1.
yeah, it was 2-1. So honestly, if Falcons come out and steamroll in the hard point, then it's going to be interesting to see how winter finals play out. So a couple maps I was also thinking they could potentially bring back. But this was from MW3. Um, I would love to see maybe a Vista hardpoint come back somehow, some way, but that's probably asking for too much, right?
No, I think those are Vista and Rio that came out together, as well as Six Star. Those are really loved maps from that game. People really thought those played well. But, this, from what I've seen from the leaks in terms of movement and whatnot, it's definitely going to play probably a little differently. It looks very rough and slow.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll always see once the game comes out and how people actually, abuse movement and slide canceling and double bunny hopping maybe what other mechanics are available. It obviously won't be wall bouncing, I don't think. So that's always going to change how maps play. But I definitely think Six Star, I think in any type of COD game, that map might play great. Rio might be the same way. Vista probably not. I think that played the worst out of those three that I named. So I definitely think there's a good chance we see those maps come back since they were so well liked, at least as DLC, maybe not on launch day.
Okay. Um, so what are you expecting for Modern Warfare 4? Is there anything you're looking forwards to?
I'm really just hoping it's a good, fun game, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't want it to play like MW 2019. You might have enjoyed that game. Me personally, I think that's one of the worst CODs ever made, behind or right next to MW2 2022. I think those are the two worst CODs of all time. So I'm hoping it's better than those, right? Dead Silence as a perk is a necessity I'd like to have for at least the competitive side of things, snipers and competitive. Um, a good competitive meta, you know what I mean? I'd like to see, you know, hopefully a 3-gun meta, but 2 guns fine. I'm not mad at a 2-gun meta, but I'd like to see three, kind of a flex AR of some kind.
Mm-hmm.
We had Black Ops 4 and even I think World War II and Infinite Warfare, right? Those
Yep.
games all had at least at one point in time a 3-gun meta. With in BO4, we had the SOG, Maddox, and ICR,
Mm-hmm.
right? And those guns all performed so different from each other. And if we even saw other guns, be used in that, right? The GKS was used. It was like a pocket ICR, you know what I mean? It had double grip on it, so it had no recoil for SMG. And then we had the KN for a bit there was also used. And great sniper, right? The Paladin's my favorite sniper of all time, and a great pistol with the Strife. So I think a 3-gun meta would be something I'd really like to see.
Agree. It's like I would love to see more guns be used outside of the two. It's like I'm okay with two, but it's like I feel like the more guns we get, the better off. The more we can see out teams, like see, okay, what are we going to begin from teams? Like you could have one team literally be pure dominance and a terror with um the I'm just going to throw a random competitive gun that was used out, like the QQ9 or the GKS or the bar. Like seeing a team just fully run that on certain maps while another team's running a different SMG or AR or something like that could definitely be an interesting lineup or something.
Yeah, like a good example is I like seeing. There's a couple events, over COD history that have been like a weapon changed the whole event, right? I think the last one I can remember, there might have been one more recent than this, but the Volk Sturmgewehr, Volk, really for short, in Vanguard, that's the whole reason, not the whole reason, right? But the LA Guerrillas won that event, and they were the only one who really used the Volk, right? And they used it as a flex AR. It had great mobility, solid fire rate, but the mobility was what made it so different and usable and something that was out of the norm compared to the Automaton and the MP40. And we also saw it in BO4 for, I believe it was CWF Fort Worth, where the Rampart, you know what I mean, double FMJ Rampart shooting through all the walls. You know, something like that is a nice change of pace, and having that kind of randomness is great, in my opinion, as a viewer.
Yeah. So yeah, that was the last gun that I also can remember that also shifted the meta significantly, and I also remember the pros hearing a video about how the pros were not a fan of Volk, and they didn't really know about the Volk till LAG showed up with it, and it's like, oh, we didn't know this existed, and then it's like, imagine what the Volk could have done if it was the primary SMG and how teams would have played if that had been the one they chose.
Yeah, that's something I definitely remember as well. You know, and that kind of thing throws people off, right? You're in the feed looking at the kill feed and you just see a random gun pop up that's something different. You're like, I died to what? You know what I mean? So
Mm-hmm.
it's like it gets people off their game a little bit. They're kind of thinking about it instead of being locked in on the game.
Exactly. It's like I know during my time during in COD Mobile or when we would play COD Mobile, we would literally bounce gunsmiths and gun ideas off each other. Honestly, it's like when you get that when you're killed by that one random gun, you're like, wait, hold up a sec, it's doing what to me and how's it doing it? And you try it out and it's like, oh my gosh, I need to be running this. And so I feel like the pros also need to have more of an open point of view when it comes to trying things out, whether it's maps, guns, or even potentially modes. Like, we had control in the game from Cold War all the way to Black Ops 6. Like, that was one, two, three.
It actually originated in BO4, started calling
Oh,
BO4.
I forgot about BO4. Oh my gosh, yeah, the moment where Abizi almost got the clutch on um evil it was Evil Geniuses, right? At
Yeah,
COD
VZ
Champs.
versus Lamar.
Yeah, that clip still lives in my head. Um so seeing that it's like now we've got overload and it's like we've had so many different third modes, and at point we did run like double hard point. And I'm curious, it's like certain pros don't like overload, like Scrap is definitely not a fan of overload for the CDL for this season. Do you think we're going to get that for next season, or do you think we're going back to control?
Um, I think control is a Treyarch thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think it's obviously been. I think in Vanguard it was there, and it was also in a couple more of these recent games. So I think there's a good shot we see like CTF. I think there's a good shot we see that come back. I am a control lover. I do love that mode. It's my favorite game mode of all time, and so I wouldn't mind seeing it come back. I think CTF is a big one that people are. We haven't had CTF in so long, and people are forgetting that CTF is not always the most interesting game mode. People always talk about how game modes, these third game modes, can be boring, right? Hardpoint and S&D, they're the core, and they're fun to watch every time for most people. And then the third mode's always been questionable ever since Uplink, right? Uplink to everybody is probably the best mode of all time in terms of a competitive experience and viewing experience and playing experience. But I think we're not going to see that, right, in a boots on the ground game. It's just, if we didn't see that this year at BO7, we're not going to see it. And so it would have to be a jetpack game for us to get Uplink back. So I think we're more likely to see either Control come back, which is fine with me, or CTF, or maybe like an upload or an overload type game mode.
Mm-hmm.
But definitely no domination or demolition or any of that blitz. Those other game modes that we previously had.
Exactly. I remember when the domination was
I
in.
think Overload's very similar to Blitz. I just want to put that in there. It is very similar to Blitz. Like
Mm-hmm.
I have people have on that conclusion, I guess maybe in what I've seen, but it's very similar to it, right? You need to get to the other team's side and go through their portal, right? Except in Overload, you have to carry an Overload device to it.
Exactly. So going off that, it's like we're just gonna have to see what the modes and how and what the players choose for that third mode and stuff. So hopefully by October, November we fully know what's going to be happening. And quick little update, ladies and gentlemen. We are going to map 5 for raid search and destroy of Paris Gelmates versus Riyadh Falcons. So, Moise, I think your prophecy of Gelmates reverse sweeping is coming to light.
Right? I think it could be happening right now. So it wouldn't surprise me, right? I think Mates is the better team. So I think them winning this map 5 here is very likely. And that might be hopium because I'm an Optic fan and I would rather face them.
True. And I will say, if Falcons somehow come out and get that map 5 win, I am just going to be looking at Optic saying, you gotta face the Bulldog, you gotta face 99 kids. Like, you're going to be facing either a swift 3-0 in your favor, or you're going to be in for a grueler, potentially, especially since Luka's been popping off on the main stage this weekend. So, yeah, we'll see how it goes, ladies and gentlemen. So, definitely excited. So, yeah. Closing thoughts. So, as Moistine pointed out, I haven't been on Call of Duty Mobile in almost a year. Like, I'm 3 months away from not from being off COD Mobile for a full year. And Moistini, I've been watching your content since I retired from COD Mobile. What's been your favorite gun since I retired? Like, do you have a favorite gun to use, or a dark horse gun that players aren't really looking at?
I mean, I got a few, right? COD Mobile's got 130 plus guns in it at this point, so they got everything for everybody. But the Grau has always been something for me. I've always loved in COD in general, right? In any game, guns with good fire rates, lower damage, no recoil, right? That's something really up my alley. That's my kind of gun. Some people like a gun where it hits hard, right? And they don't care about recoil. They care about the damage output. Me personally, the Grau is a gun that I've always loved, and I've always said it's underrated. Even back when it was the meta for a little bit there, I said it was even better than people thought. And that's always going to be a gun that suits me. I think right now, probably the most underrated, underappreciated gun is a gun I've talked about a lot lately in the Razorback. It has the ability to 3-shot. It's got no recoil, amazing strafe speed. It can pretty much do it all, specifically for multiplayer, right? That's what I'm talking about here. Since that's what I mostly play, I think the Grau is good in every mode. And then the Razorback, especially in multiplayer, I think it's underrated. Definitely needs some more love from the community. I think people tend to not go off meta as often nowadays. I feel like it's always what's the best gun? They're going to use that, right? Switchblade right now. The USS-9 for the past however many millenniums it's been the meta. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So, I think the Razorback, if you're looking for an SMG that's a little off meta, I'd roll with that. An LMG, a little off meta. I guess I'll just give one of every category. The MG42, in my opinion, it is a pea shooter, right? You'll be hitting people for like 10 damage. You're gonna have to hit
Mm-hmm.
them 10 times. But I think that fire rate that you can get with recoil booster and the rapid fire barrel makes up for it. As for snipers, I've always said the HDR. That's been my favorite sniper in the game for some reason. Didn't like it at all in MW 2019, but in COD, I love not getting a hit marker, right? I think everybody hates hit markers. In the HDR, you get any hit markers. So that's probably my favorite sniper. Pistol-wise, they keep nerfing my boy, the MW11. We definitely need some more semi-auto pistols, but the best pistol, in my opinion, is the Elkhart 9. Great strafe speed, like amazing strafe speed. And I think that's, a huge perk of having a pistol is being able to whip it out. And, with a 30-round mag, you can get 2 kills with that, no problem. And the strafe speed really helps you win those gunfights. As for shotguns, I don't shotgun much, so I don't know, but I think the R9 is probably the one to go with. I think it's actually probably the best shotgun for multiplayer, and then you have to use the pumps for BR. Pump shotguns are much better in the BR landscape, and the full auto shotguns are the best for the DMZ landscape for those running that. And I think that covers all of them. I don't use marksmans, so I don't have nothing for you guys. If you use marksmans, you're the problem with Cobble. That's pretty much all I got.
Okay. And so running back quickly to the guns. I definitely was a fan of the Growl. Like I loved the Growl when it came out, and it's like every so often I'm like, oh, I miss the Growl. I miss. It's like, well, I would love to see the Growl somehow incorporated into the competitive scene for console. Like, if we had something like that for the AR, that definitely would be amazing to see. Um, for sniper wise, I um since we had the HDR in MW19 and we both have used the HDR. One thing I wanted to mention was the Locust. I forget what the COD name on console for that was, but did we have that for Black Ops 3 or am I thinking of Black Ops 4?
It was actually in both games.
Both games. Okay, gotcha. All right. I was like, I know it was in either 3 or 4, and I remember certain clips I saw online being hit with it, so I was like, okay. And since it's BO 3 and 4, it's not going to be in MW4. So, I would do. So, do you think we'll have a more futuristic COD game like IW or a game where we have specialists back again? Like for BO6 and 7, they were score streaks. Like the Annihilators, the hand cannon that you can get a score streak now with. Like that was in BO6. Do you think we'll ever get specialist backs, or do you think they're gone forever?
I think there's a chance, right? If we see a game come out that's like Overwatch, I believe, where they had that kind of mechanic, and then COD just decided to copy it, right, and create that specialist type thing. If my memory serves me right, that's why they did it, is because that game was so popular, and that was kind of how it played. So I think if there's another game that comes out, you know what I mean, down the road, that follows that same type of mechanic, and everybody's really high on that game, then I think there's a good chance we see COD copy it and go back to that specialist style. And I think that would be great for a game to kind of mix it up, right? In COD, we don't want the same game over and over again. Like for a competitive aspect, I like having the switcheroo and learning a new game, learning new maps, learning new guns. So I think that would be something that's good. I also think that getting a jetpack game in would be a good mix. I've always said that let Treyarch work on the boots on the ground gods. They do that the best. Let Sledgehammer, Infinity Ward do the jetpack gods and alternate it, right? Like every other year or whatever the schedule would be, having those studios work on those games, and then having the other studio, whichever studio would be, work on a World War II era COD or World War I era COD or some sort of like old gritty game. whichever studio can do that the best. You know, whoever made maybe World War II, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember that, but
All
whoever
right.
made that, you know, have them work on that, and then have Infinity War. I think made IW. I was a big fan of IW, especially with zombies. So I think having them work on that and maybe continue the IW zombie storyline for me personally, I think that would be something that I would like to see.
Okay. Um. So, a couple more things just came to mind. Now, stories. Do you think the campaign or the zombie storyline recently has been better?
Um, I mean, probably. I don't play the campaigns like that. To be honest with you,
Mm-hmm.
like the last since I haven't completed a COD campaign probably since. Uh, man, I'll just say Infinite Warfare.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't actually played or completed a campaign since then, so I don't really know if I can judge that. I do know I saw all those clips going around of BO7's campaign and like the AI generated boss and all that crap. So I've always said the campaigns aren't necessary for a good COD game. Ever since BO4 kind of proved that to me, because I'm a big BO4 lover,
Mm-hmm.
I think that kind of showed we don't need a campaign for a great game, right? You need, you know, a great multiplayer and a great zombies experience, and the rest of it's kind of whatever, right? DMZ, Warzone, campaign, you know, that's all just kind of whatever. To me, you know, what makes COD is multiplayer, and then you know, zombies has a massive community, so that's crucial too, in my opinion. But I definitely think, you know, out of the two storylines, I guess the zombies one's better. Eh, it's it's horrible. So I don't think it's that. It's like which one's worse, or what's the best of the worst. You know what I mean? Like I think they're both bad. So yeah, they both need work in that regard.
Mm-hmm. Um. So, oh, I just had. I was going to transition to my next topic, and my brain short circuited for a second. Um, it'll come back in a second. So what do you think is the greatest of all time zombie map? What do you say?
My favorite of all time. I don't. You know, I say it's the greatest. So I don't care what anybody else thinks. Is Zombies in Spaceland from Infinite Warfare, right? The on-disc map for Infinite Warfare. So if you bought the game right now, it would be the first map you could play. Um, it's set in a 1980s theme park. It's phenomenal. Who wouldn't want to play zombies in a theme park, right? We have in COD Mobile, you know, we only have Shino Numa. It sucks. So
Yeah.
I think seeing that type of map with that kind of detail and all the effort that was put into it and all the mechanics and a great Easter egg, a great boss fight, whether it be kind of a simple Easter egg and a simple boss fight, they're still great, right? And that's my personal favorite map of all time. 4 Wonder Weapons, a literal music playlist that's actually real music from like that era. You know what I mean? You're listening to like the Gap Band and all that stuff. It's an awesome map, and I definitely think it deserves more praise, right? It being a non-Treyarch Zombies map, people don't give it the credit it deserves. You know, they tend to go towards, you know, Shadows of Evil, Origins, Mob of the Dead. You know, I think Spaceland is, you know, the best map of all time from the zombies perspective.
All right. Um. So I. So the very first zombie map I remember playing, I was at a friend's house. Maybe you can help me out and remember the map name. You're in the White House, and you I think you were with President Nixon or something. Like it's got to be.
It's called Five. The map is called Five. It's in Black Ops 1.
Oh, okay. Like I remember playing that and tell my friend, just thinking to myself, why why are zombies literally invading the White House? Like I was young at the time, my brain didn't really understand zombies. But that was my very first zombies map I definitely could remember.
Yeah,
Um,
and that's an iconic one. You know, it's not one that I have ranked very highly, but it
mhm.
is an iconic map that is well known and loved. I think at this point in time, to me, it's like if I put it in a tier list, I'd probably put it like C or D. It's not something that I would ever really go back and play, except every once in a while. But you
Right.
know, it's whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I can't.
Um, Now for iconic maps, what's your top five for both competitive or casual wise for the maps?
I mean, my top five competitive maps, like of all time, would probably be. I have a lot of BO4 in there, so I'm definitely going to throw frequency at probably number two, Seaside at number one. Even though people didn't think it played as well, I think Seaside was phenomenal. It's my favorite map of all time, and it's a comp map. So Seaside, frequency. Um, I'm probably going to throw in Arsenal. To be honest with you, I loved Arsenal as well. So those three are going to be in there,
Mm-hmm.
probably as top three. And then I know Raid is great. Raid's just iconic. I'm watching it right now. It's been so many COD games. It always plays great in every COD game. So you got to throw Raid in there. I'm just going to put it at four. And then at number five, I feel like I want to go a little oddball here. As something that maybe isn't as remembered. So I'm going to throw in. I mean, what game do I want to pick from? You know what I mean? There's so many options.
Agree.
I'm going to go with, what's it called, dude? Give me a second.
No
I'll throw
worries.
two in there. Throwback from Infinite Warfare. Throwback Uplink was iconic. And then Comeback from Advanced Warfare. I think those are a couple that we haven't seen. But if we ever saw another Jetpack COD, I would love to see those two maps thrown in the rotation and playing some Uplink on that again. I think will bring back some great vibes for everybody in the community. So from those games, I'd like to see those come back.
Okie dokie. Um, so my top five and yours and my both of our lists are definitely going to be very. Oh my gosh, that was an insane Psycho Child by Xnid. Sorry about
Yeah, I
that.
saw that.
Um, wow, 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 wow. Yeah, that was absolutely insane. Um, so yours and my maps are definitely going to be similar. I would probably rank in. So I'd probably have as number one. I would say is Arsenal. Um, I when I recorded and played COD Mobile like that, I hit some of the most insane moments and had some of my nastier moments with the KN-44 on Arsenal and just popped off with certain SMGs on that map. So definitely gotta give it the number one spot. Number two's I'm going to say it's gotta go standoff. Like I'm surprised we didn't play standoff. Well, we didn't see standoff for the Black Ops 7 season. However, I will say not that's probably due to the fact that we had wall omni movement plus wall bouncing, so it's like not sure how. Oh my gosh, Luca with clutch. Oh my gosh. Sorry about that, Moist.
No, I'm watching you. I hear you.
Um, but yeah, it's like I would have loved to see standoff into Black Ops 7. Um, if we had one thing I would love to see is certain nostalgic maps that were comp wise, like if they like certain like take older BO 3 or 4 maps and if if they can be imported into another BO game, like I would love to see that happen where the whole map pulls just pure nostalgia of older maps all just being played. It's like yeah, add got have certain newer maps, so it's like maybe add like 1 or 2 new maps, but certain older maps get the chance to shine and all. So That's just my thoughts and stuff. Um, Another map that definitely has heavy nostalgia for me is um High Rise. Like that map, just it hits differently when it came back to MW3 and especially in the comp scene. Like what was your thoughts when it came into the scene?
What map did you say?
Um, when High Rise came into the comp scene for MW3.
Oh, you know, I think that game needed some good maps. So I think High Rise is whatever. It's not my favorite map. It's not a map that like I'm. I didn't love it in the original game. Was it MW2? The original MW2 that
Yeah,
it was in?
positive.
Yeah, I didn't love it then either. I mean, I thought it was good, but it just wasn't like a map that really hit me like that. So, seeing it brought back didn't really do much for me personally.
Okay. Um. So, ladies and gentlemen, quick update. Riyadh Falcons 5-4 against Jummets in Game 5. This might honestly go round 11, depending on how Xned's is literally psycho challenging. Like he's challenging things that's making my jaw drop. Okay, I was going to say if Joe didn't get that trade, I was going to lose it. Oh. um, Moist.
Falcons won.
Oh my gosh.
That is crazy, man.
Holy.
They stopped the reverse sweep. That's great. Xned's hype. Look at this guy. Despite Celium in that last map was like 1-8.
Yeah.
I don't know what he got in that last round, but he was 1-8. So he was dropping the stinker in that one, but they pulled it out. So pretty insane. Falcons are about to play again. They're on a heater, right? So
yeah,
they're on a heater. You don't know their map well. I don't like that for Optic, but the Optic will have that crowd buff. And if there's a guy who knows something about playing against Optic, it's probably Clayster. And having him as a coach is really going to help Riyadh out. And having somebody like Celium, you know what I mean? So I think it's going to be a very good series. This next one, just hoping the Optic boys can pull it out.
Yep. So it's going to be interesting. Like this, I feel like this potentially could be a juggernaut series potentially. Like it definitely could go to Game 5. Dare I even say round 11? Like the Falcons almost went round 11 just now, so it's like, oh my gosh. So, yep. But hey, good stuff from the Jummets. It's like, yeah, top 4, but still better than what I thought I put them. So they did the best they could do. I feel like. What about you?
Yep. I think people had him as like a top 4 team coming in, and that's what they're finishing as. Is like I believe top 4. So, it's just not necessarily how they would have expected it to go, but it is what it is. Sometimes it's how the cookie crumbles.
Yep. And we after Champs is done, we've got EWC, and I think it's like 2 or 3 weeks. I'm pulling up my calendar right now. So we're on the 18th right now. So 1, 2. I think EWC's like August 7th to the 9th, I think. So we've only got like another 2 weeks before EWC, so not too long before we are back in for the last event of the season. So
yeah, yep, that should be exciting.
All right. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to wrap up the podcast here. Next podcast, we will be breaking down the rest of Saturday, and we will be breaking down Sunday Grand Finals, FaZe versus Optic or the Riyadh Falcons. I want to thank everyone who's tuned in for as long as they did, and I want to thank Moistini for coming on the show. Hopefully, I can get you on again soon when our schedules and stuff click again. So, thank you
Yeah,
all.
man. Thank you for having me. I appreciate the opportunity. It's not often I get to just sit down and talk about some COD. So I'm always excited to talk about any level of Call of Duty, right? Whether it's pro level, casual, zombies, multiplayer, DMZ, COD Mobile. In any regard, it's always exciting to be able to talk about something that I personally enjoy and be able to talk about it with somebody else who feels the same way. So I really appreciate the opportunity and having me on.
Hey, no worries. And guys, make sure you go check Moistini out. Link to his channel will be pinned in the comment section, and I will be shouting him out on my community tab. So go check him out. Underrated guy. Very chill, laid back. He does both COD and beach racing. I haven't played beach racing before, but it looks like a fun little indie game. I'm positive it's an indie game, right?
I think so. It's it might be bigger than that now. I don't remember. I'm playing the first one,
Mm-hmm.
but there's like 4 different beach bike racing games. So that's just
Holy
something I've been
moly.
playing late. More, I usually mostly just play COD Mobile.
Ah, gotcha. Okie dokie. Alright, guys. I'll catch you all in the next one. Peace out.